Nancy Taye Aragbaye has always been an advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. Since her youth, history has always been an interest of Nancy's. Fascinated by how communities and cities grow, Nancy is hyper-focused on developing solutions to transform impoverished communities to a thriving environment. As a former educator, she discovered a gap in the education system, a desperate need to formal business and leadership development. In response to these challenges, she launched strategic solutions and developed the Black Model, a comprehensive strategy to business sustainability. As a seasoned business strategist, she understands that sustainable small businesses serve as a key element to economic mobility. For more than 10 years, Nancy Aragbaye has designed, developed, and implemented new programs and ideas to help business succeed. She consults nationally and internationally with MSMEs and governmental agencies to provide fresh ideas and strategic guidance to obtain their desired outcomes. Nancy is known for her unique perspective and strategies to help business refocus, recenter, and resume with increased efficiency. Her overall objective is to empower business leaders across Africa and the diaspora to serve as agents of change.
Nancy Taye Aragbaye, please put your hands together. Thank you so much
for having me.
The smile just gets me. Oh God, you're beautiful. But let me just go back to the conversation. So you have the dual citizenship?
Technically, I haven't yet got my Nigerian passport.
Maybe I'm speaking it into your life already. But let me just ask, you have been outside the country for a while.
Yes.
And you have come back. And according to what we just heard, your vision is actually to empower and what I call it, teach or help African entrepreneurs make that giant stride, just like every other entrepreneur that has made giant strides in entrepreneurship. The question is, coming back to Africa, to Nigeria, was there any fear in you?
It's really interesting because, and I'm glad you asked me the question, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. This is my second time in Ondo State. The first time I came was 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so when I came back, this October when I came back for our empowerment program, I had zero fear because my vision came from God. And that vision that I had, I was willing to go through it, put much money that I needed into it. No matter what, I knew that I need to come back to Nigeria to execute the vision that the Lord gave to me. So there was zero fear that was present.
So this vision made you turn down high-paying jobs back there, and you came here. And then it gets me thinking. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there who have worked for whatever organization or company or the government and have decided to put that aside and become entrepreneurs. But they're so afraid to take that leap, to jump, to take it, to grab it. What would you say to people like that?
So there's a phrase that I like to say, and it's get comfortable with being uncomfortable so you can be comfortable. And so, yes, we may think about, is this idea going to work? You may think, I don't have the resources. But there's something that I call desire, and it has to be coupled with faith and action. And when you start to walk in that vision, the resources that you need to execute that vision, that idea that's in you, it will come. But the question is, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we don't want to sacrifice. We don't want to go through the challenges that is required as an entrepreneur to be successful. And that is what is needed if you're serious about being a successful entrepreneur.
Okay, talking about being to make sacrifices, is there a limit to this type of sacrifice? Is there something that we can't take, we can't do, we shouldn't touch, no matter how risky it looks?
I would say that is up to the entrepreneurs that are in this room, right? I speak to entrepreneurs and I say, what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to do for the vision that's inside of you? And so for me, I would give anything. I would give my life for what I'm doing. This is a calling that God has put on my life. So is that vision that's inside of you, how do you feel about your vision? And so I think that is what separates successful entrepreneurs. Because as much as it is about business, I think entrepreneurship is also a very spiritual and mental endeavor as well. And it requires so much sacrifice. And again, what are you as an entrepreneur willing to give up so you can get what it is that you want?
That's a good question. And that just brings me to this question. Like I mentioned, you left the US and then you came here. A lot of Nigerian youth want to live here and go to the US. So help me understand, what did you see in Nigeria? Why did you come back? And how can the youth in Nigeria accept this country and be sure that we can thrive in this country?
Mr. Shumi said something earlier that I thought was very powerful. You have to have a love for Nigeria. You have to have a love for your state. That is where it starts. And so for me, I prayed. I said, God, I'm a Nigerian in America. How can I use my privilege for my country? So that love for Nigeria, that love was instilled inside of me, and that's what drew me back. Being born and raised in Los Angeles, California, coming to Nigeria, people thought I was crazy. Why are you leaving comfort to come and pour your own resources into programs for others? It didn't make sense. But again, the love that I have is what called me back to this country.
Wow. I hope a lot of Nigerian youth will have this much love for Nigeria.
Aragbaye
Honestly.
has always been an advocate.
They know what I'm talking about. Okay, but let's just talk in general terms. What else do you think is the solution to unemployment in Nigeria?
So there's so many factors, but I think what is very critical, and I just wrote an article about this a few weeks ago, business mentorship is a requirement to the unemployment situation that's happening across Nigeria. It's one thing to give, I can give every single entrepreneur here money to start their business. That is not enough. I can even provide 3-day training, come for free. That is not enough. They need mentorship, business education, leadership education.
Fascinated by how
that is what is required, because we're talking about an unemployment crisis, which means my business has to be well enough to create jobs for other people. That requires scaling a business. Scaling a business is not easy. It takes skill. The critical skills that are not taught in schools. So if we're not educating our children of Ondo State and providing them with mentors and guiding them, how can we ensure their success with business? That is what is required, and I think it's something that should be done immediately. I'm happy that the state has provided so many resources for entrepreneurship. My hope is that it's now amplified. Let's train them long term. Let's track the effectiveness. How many jobs are created in the next 18 months from the youth that enter the program? That is what I would like to see, and I believe that is what is needed to ensure the success of the entrepreneurs that are here today.
All right. That said, you are an indigene of Ondo State, am I right? You're an indigene.
I am, yes I am.
Brings me to my question. In Ondo State, we have a lot of hardworking youth. And the Ondo State governor has put in a lot of energy and work and resources into Ondo State Entrepreneurship Agency. And you talked about mentorship. How can an entrepreneur, a youth, get a mentor? Are we to approach them? Are we to call them? Are we to go for their events and say, Ma, please be my mentor? How do we get mentors if that's the solution?
This is a really, really great question. I think the first thing that every single entrepreneur can do for themselves is get a virtual mentor. What do I mean by that? There are mentors that don't even know that they're my mentor. Apostle Alakija, she's my mentor. She doesn't know she's my mentor. It's because I've studied her. I've went on YouTube. I watched videos, right? So every single person in this room today, you have power and you have resources called the internet. Go and find virtual mentors. Read books, audiobooks. That's the first thing that you can do. The second, yes, I prefer for people to have mentors, a physical person to guide them. But with mentorship, I think it's also very relationship-based as well. And so making sure that the person that you want to mentor them, what also value are you adding to them? Because a lot of people like the relationship where they take information, but you as an entrepreneur, you, the person that wants to be mentored, you mentee, what value are you giving to your mentor? So you can't just ask someone, be my mentor, please. What will you do in exchange? And that has to be the mentality. I say lead with value. When you lead with value, they'll come asking for you. Trust me. Lead with value. The mentors will be asking if they can mentor you.
As a former educator.
So, since you said we should lead with value and the mentors would ask, you are probably a mentor to some people here who you don't even know, you don't even know that you are. How do we know that these mentors will want to mentor us? If the person is not ready to be there for us, what do we do? Do we just move on? Do we push harder? Because it's still you that say, don't give up. So this is my final question. What do you do if your mentor is not, will I use the word willing or available to mentor you?
So I believe everyone has a power, and there's our gifts and our talents are designed for people that we know and people that we don't know. For me, there's just something in me when I don't force situations. I believe that the people that are supposed to serve me, they'll find me, and I will find those that I'm supposed to serve. And that's what it's about. There are billions of people on this planet. My services and my products, I'm very clear, are not for everybody. And I'm okay with that. There are people who I want to be my mentor, and they're not. And I'm also okay with that. But what I do know is that I have a God who will open doors for me, and at the appointed time, those mentors will show up. And that's the type of faith that we have to have as entrepreneurs.
Well, that said it. That closed it.
Taye
We all have a God, like your God,
has
that would
always
help
been
us
an
to
advocate
lead
for
through.
those who cannot advocate for themselves.
Thank you so much,
Since her
Nancy,
youth,
for joining me. It's a pleasure to have conversed with you. Ladies and
history
gentlemen,
has always
Nancy.
been an interest of Nancy's. Fascinated by how communities and cities grow, Nancy is hyper-focused on developing solutions to transform